You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options. Facebook.com/TheOptionsInsider or via questions at TheOptionsInsider.com.
Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
Welcome back to Options Insider Radio, the interview program here on the old network where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of options and derivatives and sometimes beyond. And we proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. My name is Mark Longo from the Options Insider, as well as, of course, from our ever-expanding, ever-exciting, at least we hope so, radio network. If I sound a little bit different, it's because we're not coming at you from our studio in Chicago. No, we're a few blocks away at the Trading Show Chicago. So if you're keeping score at home, listeners, that's the Swan Conference, and then OIC all of last week, and now straight into the Trading Show. No rest for the wicked. I think this is, I've lost track of how many people I've talked to over the past week. So it's certainly fun. But we have another newcomer joining us on the network today. He is Chen Fang, the co-founder and CEO at Lumina. Chen, welcome to the Options Insider Radio Network.
Thanks for having me.
And Chen, as we are wont to do with all of our first-timers here, why don't you go ahead and give our audience a little bit of an overview of your background in the financial markets and what it is that you guys do there at Lumina.
Sounds good. So at Lumina, we work with hedge funds and family offices that are investing in digital assets. We offer portfolio management software and trade execution software for them to do their business better. In terms of the company itself, we were founded last year. We're a Silicon Valley-based VC-backed company based in downtown
I won't
San
hold that
Francisco.
against you at all.
Yes. The composition of the team, we have close to 10 years of experience working in this space, fintech specifically. We built software like Adapar. I'm not sure if you heard about that. It's wealth management software for family offices and hedge funds. Doing quite well, I would say, over $1 trillion assets under administration, that software solution. The other two co-founders built the first version of that software. One of them started his career at Jump Trading, so down the street.
Not that far from here.
Not that far from here as well. And my background, I also come from high-tech background. Started my career at Microsoft, working on their search engine.
Never heard of that one either.
Working on that other search engine.
Oh, this Microsoft search engine.
The other search engine.
The much ballyhooed Microsoft. Yes. Everyone's going to say, I'm going to Microsoft. I'm going to edge it, right? That's the thing. That's the thing everyone says these days. Yes, I'm going to edge that.
So was there for 5 years working on their search initiative. Bing.com was my baby.
Oh, Bing. Okay.
2009. That's when
you
it all started.
You predate Cortana and all that other good stuff there, yes.
And then moved from Seattle to San Francisco to live that Silicon Valley dream. Worked at a couple of San Francisco startups.
So your dream was to pay an exorbitant amount in rent every month and everything else?
Was to build some world-class software with some world-class engineers. Yes.
I'm curious. Everyone who comes on, particularly if they're active in your neck of the woods, which is the crypto side, I always have to ask. Everyone has that moment, right? That eureka moment where like, hey, these crypto things are interesting. I want to know more about these. So what was that for you? What lured you from the dark side of crypto from the relatively light side of search at Microsoft?
Yes. So it was actually pretty early on, 2011. The engineers at Microsoft, they were raving about this new tech that was just Bitcoin back then. And went home and started doing some research and quickly found it super, super fascinating. Was part of the Seattle Bitcoin community. Did a lot of interesting work with that group of folks. And on my own, in my living room specifically, started mining Bitcoin with a bunch of graphics cards. So this was the
2011.
The early days of
was
Bitcoin.
it still a fraction of a dollar back then?
It was a few dollars.
Oh, a few dollars. Okay.
A few dollars back then. A lot of people were rushing to places like Best Buy and Fry's Electronics to buy literally all the graphics cards
yes.
off the shelf, and then rushing quickly over to Home Depot or Lowe's to buy those milk crates.
To put them all in.
You put the graphics cards in the milk crates with some PCIe risers. You stack the milk crates on top of each other in an elegant way, and you try not to burn your condo.
Burn your house down. Yes, exactly.
And that's exactly what got me into this world of crypto.
Well, hopefully you mined quite a bit, and you sat on them until late 2017, and you're on your own private island right now.
Well, to be 100% transparent, I wish it did more, right? If I took the same amount of money and bought back then, it would have been a different story. Mining wasn't as efficient.
Yes, that's true.
ASICs were coming out, and GPUs were slowly, fading into the distance because the hash rates weren't high enough. But for me specifically, this was a really, really awesome hobby of mine, but I always had that full-time job, whether it's at Microsoft or whether it's at these various Silicon Valley companies that I was part of. Never really took the dive fully into crypto until last year. That's when I, along with the other two co-founders, we basically quit our jobs, put together this initial prototype, went out, raised money, and started serving customers.
And so what's it been like for you out there raising money over the last 6 months to a year? Obviously, the crypto space has had some ebbs and flows in that time. It was kind of mostly on a downtrend. So I'd imagine when you're showing up, knocking on the door to a VC firm saying, fund us to like, really, another crypto thing? But then maybe in the last month or so, maybe that worm has turned. Walk us through what that process has been like for you guys over the past year. Or maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it's been hot the entire time out there in the valley.
So to be very clear, at its core, Lumina is still a fintech company. We didn't issue any tokens. We didn't do any of the ICOs. It was a very, very traditional fintech VC raise. It was a pure equity raise. In terms of overall sentiment, yeah, honestly, I wish we went in and built this product early 2017. Like, the outcome would have been different versus building it mid-2018. In terms of VC sentiment, I think there's still a lot of dry powder out there for really talented groups of individuals, really awesome projects across the United States, across the world. If you look at what folks like Paradigm is doing, what folks like Andreessen Horowitz is doing, they've set aside significant amounts of money to invest in legitimate software solutions and other services inside of the digital asset space. So I'm very bullish about future investments in this space for legitimate companies.
And now you kind of touched on it a little bit at the top of the show, but let's dive a little bit more into your platform there. Obviously, You're there trying to help these funds and everyone else kind of onboard crypto and deal with the numerous nuances that are there in the space.
Yes.
But walk us through what precisely, let's say I'm a hedge fund, I have $10 million under management, and I want, so I'm a small hedge fund, and I want to, let's go up to $100 million, how about that?
Sure.
$100 million under management,
okay.
And I want to dip my toes into crypto, and I call you up at Lumina. What can you guys do for me?
Yeah, so when we started the project, we actually sat down with a couple of dozen family offices and hedge funds already investing somewhat to a degree in digital assets. And we sat these people down and asked a very, very simple question. What are you struggling with? Where can we help? Obviously, there are some fundamentals like custody.
I was going to say,
you got to figure that out.
It's got to be the first thing everyone says is custody, right?
But right after you figure out custody, what are some of the main pain points? Well, on the portfolio management front, I would say the vast majority of folks out there that's doing this at scale falls back to Microsoft Excel.
You're the third person to tell me that today, and I have seen that anecdotally myself. The software, the analytics offerings on the crypto side, not quite robust yet, you're saying?
It's basically non-existent, I would say. If you're trading across, let's say, 4 or 5 different exchanges with 3 or 4 OTC desks, you're doing some additional trades like one-on-one with certain individuals. Trades are happening all over the place across all these various service providers. In terms of the data that's coming into your system, data that you need to ultimately reconcile, either you yourself, if you're doing, if you're running a prop shop, or a fund administrator, a poor fund administrator needs to do on your behalf. There's a lot of data. There's so much for you to sift through and figure out exactly what your current cost basis is across the board. What are the open tax laws across the board? There's so many of these hard to answer questions if you're doing everything in just Microsoft Excel. And what we realized is there's a lot of awesome financial software in traditional finance. Stuff like Adapar, as an example, that has solved some of these problems for all these other traditional finance asset classes. And what we wanted to do on the portfolio side was basically come in, take all the knowledge that we've learned from traditional finance and apply it to this brand new asset class. And the end result is, instead of using Microsoft Excel, you're able to plug in all of the respective service providers that you're currently using to trade and to custody crypto into Lumina. Lumina will bring in all the raw data and do most, if not all, of the reconciliation automatically, to the point where you can literally load Lumina up and see exactly, as of this very moment in time, what are my positions, what are the open tax lots, what's my cost basis per coin across the board. It's designed to be super elegant and very, very effortless. On the trade execution side, again, you're working with individual exchanges most of the time, or a couple of OTC venues. And if you think about how some of these people are trading across these individual exchanges, you basically have like 4, 5 Chrome tabs open, one for each. And you're constantly flipping through the tabs. You're constantly.
I use Microsoft Edge, but if you want to use Chrome, you feel free. I won't hold it against you.
Very funny. but you have so many of these tabs open, and you're constantly trying to figure out where to trade, and that's really, really painful. And if you add the OTC options into the mix, it's even more complex. So we allow you to basically take all these service providers, connect all of them into a single software solution, and you're able to execute elegantly across these service providers using your own account, so you have full control via our software solution. And there's a set of algorithms that we've built that allows you to do things like TWAP, as an example, or a smart post with a certain time limit, or if you're in a rush, you can always do a sweep as well to get the coins that you want or buy the coins that you want.
Is there a lot of sweep activity going up in crypto right now, or is it still kind of especially for the sizable stuff, a little more of a kind of a appointment type trading, right?
Yeah. So I would say, of course there's a bunch of activity in the dark pools, obviously, stuff that we can't really see, but for the stuff that we can see, if you just look at what happened a couple weeks ago, when the price of Bitcoin went from 3,500 all the way up to 4,500. If you just observe very, very carefully what happened during those 6 to 12 hours, very, very fascinating. There was an individual, the hypothesis is there's an individual out there that basically put $100 million into BTC, into Bitcoin. And the person did it in 2 separate waves across 3 separate exchange accounts. And the rest of the exchanges out there, obviously, thanks to many of you out there that's doing ARB.
A lot of the Chicago community arbing all that stuff.
Thanks to Chicago, ARB participants obviously caught up to the new price levels. But it was just a single person executing a massive order across 3 exchanges. And there's actually, fun fact, there was a third wave. There was like 2 upticks, and there was a tiny third uptick. That was the retail folks.
Oh, all seeing that and piling in.
Getting a little of that FOMO.
Yes.
And coming in as well. That's what happened, based on our research. And what's super interesting is if that same person had done the same trade using software solutions like Lumina, could have saved anywhere between $15 to $18 million.
Slippage and everything else.
Yes.
I like it. I think we've hit on a tagline for you guys just talking here. Lumina, better than Excel. There you go, right? There you go. I'm sure Microsoft would have no problem with that at all.
Our current tagline is operate better, trade smarter.
I don't know. Better than Excel has a certain ring to it, particularly for this audience.
Yeah.
You kind of mentioned the upturn over the last month. We've seen just anecdotally the people we talk to and the community we interact with on the professional and the retail and all of the above.
Yeah.
Seems to be a little bit more luster on the crypto side now, a little bit more spring in their step. Are you seeing that anecdotally as well? Kind of when it was an endless drumbeat of negative. It kind of people kind of got turned a little bit on the space, but it seems like in the last month and a half, some of that has turned. Is that your experience as well?
I do agree. There's I see sprouts in the ground here and there. I think over the next couple of months, there's going to be more and more activity for sure. Whether it's more upside or potentially another correction of some kind, I'm not sure. But all I can say is overall volumes seem to be going up. Although every so often, we're hit with another chunk of bad news. Just yesterday, CZ from Binance announced the hack that they experienced. Like that clearly is a setback for the entire industry, I would say.
Is that when funds come to you and everyone else comes to you? Obviously, custody is number one. Is security right behind that? It seems like I've often joked about crypto. Used to watch the old spy movies in the old days, and the guy was on the train, right? And he had a suitcase chained to his hand that was full of bearer bonds because you could steal those and run away with it. Now, crypto is the 21st century bearer bond, right?
It's a long string.
Exactly. It's no longer a suitcase. It's a little jump drive maybe in your pocket. So the guy on the train now is a jump drive. But other than that, the scenario is the same. Is that pretty much the second thing on the mind when they come to you? Is like, okay, we've got that. What's your security? What's that? Is cybersecurity still at the fore for all your clients?
For sure, especially the more sophisticated clients. They want to ensure that not only we are protecting their read-only keys or trade keys that are provisioning for Lumina, but fundamentally the data that's going through our system is encrypted in the right way. And for a lot of these hedge funds with very, very unique strategies, the data, like the trading activity that they do, is their bread and butter. Like that is their competitive advantage, right? So that is something that we are definitely going to protect for our customers. There are different ways that you can use Lumina, depending on like how advanced you want the setup to be. Out of the box experience, everything is hosted on AWS, very similar to Coinbase. Like we're using very, very similar technologies compared to Coinbase in terms of security, encryption on AWS. But for the most conservative people that want to run the trading portion of Lumina on their own hardware, you're able to run it on your own hardware. The rest of the portfolio will run via AWS, and the trading engine itself can be put on your own devices.
Oh, great. I mean, touched on custody, but that is kind of still a bugbear for a lot of people in the space. If a client comes to you and says, they don't have their custody solution, they don't want to deal with it, can you guys handle that? Or
yes. So we take pride in being, quote unquote, the Switzerland of crypto.
Okay, so you will do that. Okay.
So we are very agnostic. We don't really care what types of coins or tokens you trade. We don't care where you custody, and we don't care where you trade, honestly. We have a bunch of different service providers, over 35 service providers connecting into Lumina, and you get to take your pick. For example, if you want to use BitGo for custody, you're able to, through Lumina, spin up a BitGo account, connect BitGo to Lumina. It's an awesome OAuth integration that we built with them. And every single time any activity happens in BitGo, from a data perspective, you're able to see it and reconcile it in Lumina. Or if you prefer another custody solution, you're able to, take your pick. And over time, both on the trade side and on the custody side, we hope to work with all these other service providers out there. Like these are great, awesome people, great products, building amazing things. The core of Lumina, I would say, is that reconciled portfolio. Like that is the core. We care about that. We don't really mind what other service providers are using.
And speaking of other service providers, it does seem like I've had a few people on, just even today actually, who are trying to do different variations of aggregating and providing a central point of connectivity for the clients. Kind of similar to what you guys are doing, but it's still a challenge. The plumbing isn't there. Like you mentioned, some of the custody providers, or let's say you want to connect to an execution venue, Coinbase, whatever it might be. The client still has to go set up that themselves, right, and then connect to you guys. No one can be a one-stop shop yet, right? So you just come to Lumina or just come to Aggregator X, and they do it all for you. People want that, but it's not quite there yet. Do you see any evolution of that happening anytime soon in the space? And then B, how much of an obstacle is that still for you guys?
I'll start with part B, the actual connectivity into some of these venues. Full transparency. Not as easy as you would think.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, these other service providers, it's just software on their end as well. With a centralized database, whether it's a MySQL database in the back end or a Postgres database, it's literally a product with a database attached to it. And some of these products are built quite well. I would say that the Coinbase APIs, it's been a pleasure working with the Coinbase APIs. But some of the other services, even some of the big ones out there, in terms of just like raw data quality and the goodness of the product from an API perspective, there's a lot of gaps. And we at Lumina, part of our value add is helping to normalize some of the data that's coming in. unlike some of the retail portfolio management products out there, I won't name any names, most of the retail products don't put as much diligence into ensuring that the data that's coming in from service provider X is indeed good data. What we do is we actually pull in all the raw ledger information. We compute what we think your balances should be, and we match it up with what the exchange or what the venue is reporting. If it doesn't match up, we let you know. This is, from a Deloitte perspective, this is oftentimes a Deloitte audit, right? We basically automated all of that before you're able to fully connect that financial connection in with Lumina. To answer your first question about setting up some of these accounts at these various venues, not ready to announce what we're about to ship, but we are hoping to facilitate that part of the process as well.
I've been waiting for someone to say that they can maybe bridge that gap, because
Yes,
it is a huge
yes.
pain point.
It's
I've
very,
had so
very
many people
painful.
come on trying to aggregate different things, and I'll say, okay, I can just connect to you. And they all say, well, no, you have to connect to X and Y and Z and Q,
Yeah.
and then you can connect to us. And that kind of defeats the purpose, right? So yeah, if someone can facilitate that process.
I'll give you the scenario. Like, I'm a hedge fund. I have 3 exchange accounts set up, maybe 1 OTC desk. I have 15 Trezors floating around and 2 ledgers for custody. Maybe I'm using BitGo, maybe I'm not. That's my current setup. That's awesome. Basically take all that, plug it into Lumina. You see everything, and you can basically do everything from Lumina going forward. And then imagine a couple weeks in the future, a couple months in the future, you realize, wow, the 3 exchange accounts is not providing sufficient levels of liquidity for whatever coin or token I want to trade. And I actually need to get on these 4 additional exchanges. Lumina will help you.
Well, we usually like to leave our audience, Chen, with a little bit of a hint, a little bit of a tease of what's coming. It sounds like you just did that.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, will be a huge development if that indeed comes to fruition. But if you want to add any icing on the cake there, we've already established it's better than Excel, so that's a big plus. I think a big feather in your cap. But if you want to leave our audience, with a little bit of extra hint, a little bit of extra tease of what they can expect from you guys in the coming months, now is the time, sir. The floor is yours.
Sure. So it's all about getting more service providers connected, getting more data plugged in, doing more auto reconciliation. On the trading side, it's all about, again, connecting more service providers, building even better algorithms to help people do their day-to-day much more much easier. I would say, to leave you guys with some tangible action, if I may, if you go to www.lumina.app/signup, create an account with promo code OptionsInsider, OPTIONSINSIDER, that's the promo code, and sign up within the next, let's say, 3 days. Or maybe next week.
We have a lot of audio coming. Let's expand it to a week. We have a lot of audio hitting the network over
Okay,
the coming,
fine. Within the next 2 weeks. Within the next 2 weeks, basically from now, let's say through the end of May. You sign up through the end of May to make it super concrete. We'll shave 20% off of trade execution fees for the rest of this year. That's Options Insider. That's the promo code www.lumina.app/signup.
Great. Well, you came prepared. Well done there, Cheng. Well, this has been fascinating to hear about what you guys have going on, and we'll look forward to seeing how all this plays out in the marketplace in the coming months.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.